But I digress. Let's go back into what happened yesterday in this impeachment hearing. At the very beginning, the Republicans brought to Nadler's attention that under the rules, they have a right to have a minority hearing. What this means is that the minority party, in this case the Republicans, because in 2018, due to shenanigans and fraud, the Democrat Party took control again of the House of Representatives. And so that makes the Democrats a majority and the Republicans a minority. Well, the minority party, the Republicans, have a right to have their own hearings and to have that play out before the House rushes to articles of impeachment. It's not a matter as if they need Nadler's permission to do so. They are that is the rules. That is the rules by the House for them to have it. Well, they brought this to Nadler's attention, saying, "Hey, these are the rules. When can we schedule it?" That's the rules, and you can see that Nadler is a partisan hack, totally doing this illegitimately. And he goes and ignores them. And I'm going to play you the whole clip, but he goes and ignores them. He makes a motion, says he doesn't make he hasn't passed a motion, and it's just chaos with the Republicans once again reminding Nadler that they have a right, that we as a people have a right to the minority hearing, and he flat out is rejecting it by supposedly looking like he's delaying it or this wasn't the right time. But if right now is not the right time, when will be the right time? It's a stall tactic to get it off the table publicly so that outside of the public, Nadler can go ahead and change the rules with Nancy Pelosi and deny we the people and the minority party their right to a hearing.
Minority member several times. I'm considering the minority's request. If you think we would be violating the rules of the House if we considered articles of impeachment before holding a minority day hearing, that point of order would be timely at a meeting where we considered such articles. It's not the purpose of today's hearing, and the point of order is not in order.
Mr. Chairman, since I've been implicated in this, I'd like to ask.
Without objection,
our comments have not.
Without objection, all other opening statements will be included in the record.
Reserve my point of objection on that.
Okay. The point of objection.
I have a question. You've brought my name into this.
The gentleman.
You have brought my name into this.
The gentleman will suspend. The gentleman is recognized.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's telling me that you're considering something you have nothing to consider, and you have told me that, I'll admit on record, is nowhere close to actually following your duty as a chairman to follow the rules. And so I think the point of order is very well taken. I think the issue that we have is not, I think your timing is, show me please in the rule, have your parliamentarian show me in the rules where you come to a time of actually being able to deny this up at a certain point.
Further reserving the right to object.
As I have said,
Further reserving the right to object.
As I have said, the point of order would be in order at the meeting where we are considering articles.
Further reserving the right to object.
We will now hear presentations.
Mr. Chairman, I appeal the decision of the chair.
There is no decision to appeal. There was not a ruling and a motion. We will now hear presentations.
There's a ruling on the point of order.
You made a ruling on the point of order.
You made a ruling on the point of order, Mr. Chairman. You can't then not allow us to appeal the ruling of the chair.
The gentleman will suspend.
Nadler here is like the kid that wants to take his toys and go home and changes the rules of tag with no tag backs and with tag backs whenever it is convenient for him. This right here shows you what animus, what bias, and what a political circus this really is. He is saying he has that he didn't rule on a motion when he did, and he's getting called on it, and he's just denying everybody. Deny the other side the right to have their minority hearing. This is just ridiculous. And it continues.
It was not a cognizable point of order. It was not a cognizable point of order. It was not in order at this time to make that point of order. There is no ruling to appeal. But
Mr. Chairman, its rule was the obligation, not consideration. You are obligated to schedule, not to consider. You made a ruling. It is in order to appeal.
The gentleman will suspend. We are doing what we have to do under the rules. We will now hear presentations of evidence.
Mr. Chairman,
the gentleman is not recognized. We will now hear presentations of evidence.
I have a parliamentary inquiry.
I haven't removed my objection yet.
I will not recognize a parliamentary inquiry at this time.
So Nadler, right after saying that it's not by the rules, continues to not follow the rules. He wants to get, and this is the beginning before we heard any witnesses or any testimonies or any opinions during the hearing. This is at the very onset. The very onset, he's denying the minorities the right to have their hearing, call their witnesses, and bring in another perspective against the rushed judgment for articles of impeachment. And Matt Gaetz comes out swinging, prefacing what we're about to see, which is the Nadler and the House Democrats totally icing out actual legislators to make their case by using staff persons. So he's denying them the right, and then he's elevating staff people over the Democrat staffers over elected Republican representatives. This is a travesty. This is a tragedy. We must take back our government, folks. We must take it back, or we get more of this.
We will now hear presentations of evidence from counsels to the judiciary.
Is this when we just hear staff ask questions of other staff and the members get dealt out of this whole hearing? And for the next 4 hours, you're going to try to overturn the result of an election with unelected people giving testimony?
Gentlemen will suspend. This hearing will be considered in an orderly fashion. The gentleman will not yell out, and he will not attempt to disrupt the proceedings.
And I hope you notice the "Where's Adam" signage behind the legislators, reminding us once again that a fact witness in this entire sham is Shifty Adam, the chair of the Intel Committee, who is a fact witness, who is involved in this whole thing, yet will not show up to testify in the Judiciary Committee's hearings, which are going to lead, we already know Nancy Pelosi said, go ahead, to articles of impeachment. So I think it's brilliant how they have this signage behind, reminding us of the fraud that this whole entire process really is.
We will now hear presentations of evidence from counsels to the Judiciary Committee for up to 60 minutes, equally divided.
I've not removed my objection yet.
Barry Burke will present for the majority, and Stephen Castor will present for the minority.
I want to point this out to you because I'm going to play you a brilliant clip later where Mr. Burke gets shredded, and you'll see what I mean in a second as a political hack. But the chair is announcing that the person who will be doing the questioning of the witnesses will not be persons in the Judiciary Committee, but their counsel. In other words, unelected lawyers are going to do the questioning for both sides, but of course this is set up by the left, by the Democrats, of their experts that are there. So the questioning initially is not going to be done by the legislators, but by unelected officials. Remember, Mr. Burke is the one doing it for the minority, and we're going to see quite brilliantly, thanks to Matt Gaetz, what a political hack he really is.
Mr. Burke, you may begin.
Mr. Chairman, you do realize I've never withdrawn my
Gentlemen will
objection.
suspend.
I've not withdrawn my objection. You've not asked me to talk to my objection. I want everybody to have an opening statement.
Gentlemen will.
I objected to your opening statement comment, nothing else.
Mr. Burke is recognized.
Steamroll continues.
Mr. Burke has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And you heard Doug Collins, great patriot out of Georgia, that the steamroll continues. But luckily, when our Republican legislators had a chance to actually talk to the witnesses here, they exposed them for the partisan hack frauds that they really are.
And that brings us to your role, Mr. Goldman. Are you here as a partisan advocate for the Democrat position, or are you here as a nonpartisan investigator of the facts?
I'm here to present the... What's that time frame, Senator?
Well, what I would imagine would happen, what I'd like to see happen, is for this thing to get over as soon as possible. I don't want to give it any legitimacy because it's a crock. You know, I trusted Mueller, who is an outside entity, to look at all things Trump and Russia. He did for 2 years and took no action. Every impeachment except this one has been conducted by outside counsel. Ken Starr and Clinton, the Watergate prosecutors, found misconduct by President Nixon. This is being driven by Democratic partisans. It's being rushed. There's no due process. Abuse of power, if you're looking for it, my Democratic House colleagues, look in the mirror.
Look in the mirror indeed. I'm going to show that to you in just a moment. But what Lindsey Graham is saying here is that the whole entire process in the House, as we know, was illegitimate, no due process, yada, yada, yada. He doesn't want to get a lot of attention. He wants it to come in the Senate and go away as quickly as possible. But that's one school of thought. The other school of thought, it comes from President Trump himself. He has been accused without proper rights in the House. He wants his day in court in the Senate to not only show his innocence, but to show where the true guilt is, where the true corruption was happening in 2016 in Ukraine done by the other side. And we'll get into comparing those two schools of thought in a second, but I do want to kind of piggyback off of what Lindsey Graham just said, that if we want to see abuse of power, it's coming from his Democrat House colleagues. And that wasn't more evident than today when Jerry denied the House Republicans their right to a minority hearing before the final vote in the Judiciary Committee to approve the articles of impeachment.
The gentleman will now state his point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, as I made the point of order on this minority hearing day, the chairman was furnished with the demand signed by all Republican members of the committee during the impeachment hearing held on December the 4th. The chairman has refused to respond to multiple additional requests that hearing be scheduled, and at one point actually telling me, as I actually responded to this, that we'll rule with it today. Well, we're here today, and it's a farce that we're having to rule on this today because there's no other time we're actually taking up the articles today. So the rule is not and by the way, this rule is not superseded by any portion of HRS 660. That could have been done by the majority, but they were too busy in a hurry to get H 660 to the floor that after discussing this, they chose not to exempt the minority hearing day. This could have been done. They chose not to. Now we're not having it, so I continue my point of order.
If I understand the gentleman's point of order, he asserts we are violating Clause 2J1 of House Rule 11 by conducting this markup before we have held the hearing that the minority members requested on December 4th. In my view, the gentleman is claiming a broader privilege than Clause 2J1 actually provides the minority. The minority has asked for a day of hearings on the matter of the December 4th hearing, which was the constitutional grounds for impeachment. I am willing to work with the minority to schedule such a hearing, but not before today's markup of the articles of impeachment. The House rule does not require me to schedule a hearing on a particular day, nor does it require me to schedule the hearing as a condition precedent to taking any specific legislative action. Otherwise, the minority would have the ability to delay or block majority legislative action, which is clearly not the purpose of the rule.
Folks, they are so transparent in their hypocrisy. Jerry is telling the House Republicans that he is denying their request for a minority hearing because it may be political and stop their actions and delay the vote, as they are doing exactly that, denying this minority hearing for political actions so they cannot get a delay of their vote. Projection 101, and it's incredible that the left continues to do this with impunity, and no one stops them from breaking their own rules.
Is not sustained.
I'd move to table this.
Did you actually call for a vote? How is it not sustained? You didn't call for a vote.
And Jerry is inept. He doesn't even know what he's doing. Because when you don't follow the rules that you know exist, how do you justify your actions?
I sustain the point of order.
I sustain the point of order.
I call for an appeal of the ruling of the chair.
And there you have it, if you caught that. Someone over Jerry's right shoulder, I don't know if they're there to handle him, but they're definitely telling him what to do and how to proceed.
I sustain the point of order.
I sustain the point of order.
I call for an appeal of the ruling of the chair.
And now we're going to see another banana republic move when the ruling party gangs up on the opposing party to silence them.
Now I call for a vote.
I sustain the point. I ruled that the point of order is not well taken.
Well, that's painfully obvious.
Motion to table his appeal.
I've appealed the ruling of the chair.
And I move to table.
The gentleman has appealed the ruling of the chair. The gentlelady has moved to table the appeal of the ruling of the chair. The motion to table is not debatable. All in favor of the motion to table, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
Nope.
The appeal of the motion, the appeal of the ruling of the chair is tabled. We will now proceed to amendments.
Roll call.
The gentleman asked for roll call on the motion to table the appeal of the ruling of the chair. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Nadler?
Aye.
Mr. Nadler votes aye. Ms. Lofgren?
Yes.
So the Judiciary Committee holds a vote to table the objection of the Republicans who, for some odd reason, think it would be fair for them to have a minority hearing to refute everything that the Democrats have been able to push on their one-sided trajectory toward an impeachment vote. Even though the rules allow for it, Nadler tables it, and it should come as no surprise that the Democrats all voted in favor of shutting out the Republicans from a fair process.
Has everyone voted who wishes to vote? The clerk will report.
Mr. Chairman, there are 23 ayes and 17 noes.
The appeal of the ruling of the chair is tabled. We will now proceed to amendments.
Yes, this is frustrating and discouraging, but all hope is not lost. We do still have patriots in the House of Representatives who are not just sitting back and taking it, but who are speaking up, as we will see here from Debbie Lesko, Republican from Arizona.
Here in this committee, our Republican members ask for witnesses so that we can ask questions to get out the truth, to get out at least, let us say our side of the story. But no. And so then we turn to, okay, under the House rules, it says you're required to set a minority hearing so that we can at least call witnesses, so we can get some truth out to the American public instead of this one-sided sham. But no, here again, I think you said right here, no, we're not going to do that. Well, I'll consider a date in the future that you can have a minority hearing. For goodness sakes, we're voting on this today. It's no good to have a date in the future. Then it's done. You've already put through this. I mean, it just continues to amaze me how corrupt, how unfair this process has been from the start.
Clerk will read the first section of the resolution.
Resolution impeaching Donald John Trump, President of the United States, for high crimes and misdemeanors. Resolved that Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, is impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, and that the following articles of impeachment be exhibited to the United States Senate. Articles of impeachment exhibited by the House of Representatives of the United States of America in the name of itself and of the people of the United States of America against Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, in maintenance and support of its impeachment against him for high crimes and misdemeanors.
If you're like me, you were cringed by the verbiage in there that this impeachment inquiry that's leading to articles of impeachment is on behalf and for we, the American people. No, it's on behalf of the deep state, of the entrenched globalists, of the cabal, of the coup attempters, but not for me and you and the other 63 million people that voted for Donald John Trump, our duly elected and beloved commander-in-chief in 2016, and the many more people that have come around to him and will vote for him in 2020. No, this impeachment sham does not represent the people. It represents a ruling class that thinks they are elite and can tell us what is good for us.